Joining us again, and welcome to the second half of TVC Breakfast this beautiful Friday morning. So let's talk about the tax reform bills. Yet again, this conversation is indeed crucial, as now the 4 documents have scaled second reading at the Senate, coming barely 24 hours after the Red Chamber invited tax administrators for an interactive session to fully understand the need for the reforms. Senior reporter Jesu Adeoye tells us more.
In a full brief on the general principles of the tax reform bills at its previous sitting, the leader of the Senate spearheads the debate for second reading. Lawmakers largely expressed unanimous support during their contributions, with the exception of Senator Ali Ndume, who voiced reservations about the matter.
The current arrangement, unlike what is proposed, unduly favors the most industrialized states in Nigeria, to the detriment of states where such goods and services are actually consumed, but are not lucky to host the headquarters of these service and good suppliers.
And there's also a move to remove the people at the lowest level in terms of their salaries and so on, to exempt them completely from taxation. These are good things in this bill that should be encouraged.
That the bill should be withdrawn, make some necessary amendments, and then bring it back, and we can pass it in 24 hours.
And traditional rulers are free to come and ventilate their opinion as to the pros and the cons of the bill before the public hearing, so that our committee will now look at the various submissions, aggregate it, and then bring it for clause-by-clause consideration.
The Senate has erected its Committee on Finance to conduct a public hearing involving all stakeholders and those who have reservations with the bill.
We will give these bills all the necessary legislative processes it requires, such as public hearing. We'll call for memoranda from all sectors. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, regional groupings, we will call for memoranda. And then at the end of the day, we will do a retreat with experts.
The specifics will be looked into whenever we go for the public hearing. We'll get the experts, we'll get the traditional institution, we'll get our governors and all other stakeholders concerned to make their input.
After the debate, the bill scaled second reading and has been referred to the Committee on Finance with a 6 weeks deadline to return with its report. In another development, the Senate also held a special valedictory session for the former President of the Senate, Senator Joseph Wires. Jesu Adeoye, TVC News, Abuja.
Right, and to join us this time now for the conversation, we have via Zoom Dr. Muda Yusuf. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise. Thanks a lot, Dr. Yusuf, for joining us again on TVC Breakfast. We also have with us in the studio Public Affairs Analyst Muyiwa Gulaja. It's good to see you again.
Thank you,
welcome to the program.
Thanks. Good morning.
Right, let's begin in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Yusuf, let's begin in the studio. We appreciate your coming on board. So, Mr. Gulaja, to what extent do you relate with the engaging sessions, the rowdy sessions that we are seeing in the Senate regarding this particular bill? Why the hue and cry over it?
Thank you. It's a pointer to the fact that most of our senators, with due respect to those of them who do their work very well, are not doing their work. And I wonder what they are doing with the money given to them to have what you call legislative assistance. Most of those who criticize the bill at the initial stage never read the bill. They just look at the mere fact that VAT will go up and that distribution will be based on derivation. And to them, their region have been denied. They are going to have increased taxes. People will talk. Election is coming up. They cannot go to their constituents to ask for votes. People will revolt. Their cost of living has gone up, so they don't want anything that will make them feel uncomfortable. But if they have actually gone through the details of the bills, they will have seen the advantages the country would derive. They will have seen that there is deliberate effort to revolutionize tax and what I will call administration in Nigeria. They will have seen a number of efforts that are in it that will make it possible for those who are not earning up to 70,000 naira per month to be tax-free. They will have seen the reduction in company tax from 30 to 25%. They will have seen the exemption of basic goods, services that are for the common people, like hospital, petroleum products, transportation, the CGL, liquefied gas system, that will have been exemptions that they will not pay a couple. They will have seen all this to say that they will have actually said that VAT is going to go up definitely, but they should look at it, it's gradual. And mind you, basic exceptions have been made, and even the distribution has been improved upon. Federal government has stepped down from 50 to 10%. State government has gone up from 50 to 55%. Local government remain 35%. And even the 55% for state governments, I call it divided into stratas. 20% on basis of population, 20% of that on the basis of population, on the basis of equality, and the remaining 60% on the basis of derivation. So that means all those state governors who cry to Abuja for feeding bottle drinks, instead of you now have to sit up and work. If you are very innovative as a governor, if your state produces a particular product as a governor, your state will get more of that product than other states. So what I say is that do not just sit idle as governors. You must be innovative. You must think. It's not that you just keep on dancing from state to state. You must think, what can my state do? What can my state bring to the table? As most young men now ask, when they say any prospective lady to be married, this is what are you bringing to the table? You want to know. Nobody's ready for any liability. So these are the issues at stake now. So, and I think it's always better for people to read, decipher the contents of any bill before you make pronouncements. Unfortunately, most of those highly respected senators who make pronouncements only talk without reading. And by the time they now look at the nitty-gritties of the bill, they are now beginning to see the advantages. And the clarion call to the fact that those days are gone when you just go to Abuja, cap in hand, begging.
That's right.
Sit up, make your own research, produce something from your state, and you get the better of the result.
Mr. Yusuf, let me come to you. Well, Senator Ali Ndume, a very senior senator, for that matter, said that he's not opposed to the bill, but he actually raised two concerns, which is identified two contentious areas. The first, the potential burden on average Nigerians and the risk of concentrating tax collection powers at the federal level. How genuine do you consider his concerns? Do you feel that they might probably impact fairness and acceptance of these reforms?
Well, I agree with my colleague in the studio. Apparently, most of the members of the National Assembly have not read the bill, the bills rather, because in fairness, it's quite a voluminous bill. We are talking about 4 bills running into almost 400 pages. So we need very deep technical understanding for you to be able to appreciate, both the benefits and possibly even some demerits in the bill. Because we have to also be clear, there is no bill that is perfect. That is why it is before the National Assembly. The NEC, that is the National Economic Council, talked about consultation and all of that. The National Assembly provides an opportunity for that kind of consultation, to be able to harness ideas and to be able to make the process as inclusive as it can be. So I think the bill, the way it is, what Senator Ali Ndume was saying, I think there's a kind of disproportionate response, from his side, and on the part of some of the our northern brothers.
Dr. Yusuf, we're struggling to hear you. We seem to be hearing you now in having some breaks. Can you hear me? All right, let's see if we can try and reconnect with Dr. Yusuf. Must be the evils of, the network over there. But coming back to the studio, I don't know if you caught Ibrahim's question, looking at, for someone, it's a senior senator as Ali Ndume, speaking to what he perceives as, some issues with the bill, with these bills. Help us to, because the northern side is still kicking against it, especially now that there is a public hearing due, at the Senate. What next? What do you think now the Senate can do to ensure that this public hearing will bring in all the needed stakeholders so they can have open discussions, frank discussions about what the bills seek to achieve?
Maybe I want to start this way. I'm a bit disappointed that a senator of that caliber could just conclude that the bill should be withdrawn, because there are processes for any bill that will not see the light of the day. The mere fact that a bill has been sent to the National Assembly does not mean that it will go out from the mill. At times it will go straight to the dustbin. So those are the processes they are now following. There is no bill that will not go through these stages of reading, and they will not go through what is called public discussion. That is the public hearing, where all the stakeholders will be invited. And in doing this, who are those stakeholders? The same members of the parliament will be there. Technocrats will be there. Even members of the governors forum, they will be there. Our traditional rulers will be there. Commoners, students, all interest, and people like you and I will go there and make a point. In the process, they will dissect the bills. They will break them down, and they start molding again. And by the time they finish the molding, a 25-story building will have been built. Very strong enough. I'm wondering how that will be built, because if you look at what some stakeholders actually said, they said that, especially in the north, because it's looking at that region, they said the bill may disproportionately affect economically weaker regions, and then while others see it as an opportunity to encourage self-reliance, which you said. But how can these reforms address regional disparities and ensure that no part of the country is left behind? Very good. If you look at the distribution pattern, the proposed distribution pattern, the 55% meant for states will not just go to states like that. 20% of that 55% will go to all the states on what is called consumption basis. No, on the equality basis. Okay, equity. Equity. To the extent that there's this, like most of us have not understood, to the extent that no state in the confederation will earn less than what it is presently earning. So which means win or lose, which means it's a win-win situation. You always get more than what you are presently getting. That is one. Number two, states with very high population, and we all know what population census are in Nigeria. Anytime it is conducted, it's always assumed that the north is more populated than the south. Right. So based on that assumption, the north again, that they are fighting for, locally get more than the south. Then you are now left with only 60%, which will now be on derivation basis. Do you know that in this state, Samfara State, there is this product, lithium. Am I right? Yes. Lithium. That is used to produce batteries. Yeah. If that state decides to go into this, do you know how much that state will be earning on VAT? A lot. So what I'm saying is that when states that have these resources, when they now sit and do adequate justice to these resources and produce them in what is called export values, they'll get a lot more. And by the time they are given their VAT allocation, they will be better for that. So I think the fears are not founded. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a ruse.
All right, let's put you on hold, Mr. Ogunlaja, and we'll take a break now, and hopefully Dr. Muda Yusuf will, join us again to share some more insights on this lingering controversy regarding the tax reform bill. Stay with us.
We don't like to eat better, more nutritious meals, more veggies, but we want it tasty and easy too. Knorr Cubes, that's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic. and enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
Some say learning is fun, but as a mom, I see how demanding it can be for my child. That's why I ensure he starts every day with a cup of Bonvita. Bonvita, prepare them to win every day.
Thanks a lot for joining us again on TVC Breakfast. Let's check now with Dr. Muda Yusuf. Can you hear the studio now? Dr. Muda Yusuf, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Ibrahim was asking a question. We lost most of what you said at the start. Let Ibrahim rephrase so we can...
Right, Dr. Muda Yusuf, you were actually answering the question about Senator Nduma's concerns, saying that the contentious areas for him, he's not against the bill, but he said that the potential burden on average Nigerians and the risk of concentrating tax collection powers at the federal level. So I was asking whether you consider these concerns genuine.
Well, and I don't quite agree with his position. The federal government has a much better structure to ensure collection of taxes. The fact that a lot more role is being given to the federal in terms of tax administration and tax collection does not mean that most of those taxes will be going to the federal. Because the federal government has better structures. Many of these states don't have a structure to ensure effective tax administration. In fact, if you look at the bill, there's a provision there that makes there's a provision there for partnership for states that want the support of the federal to be able to support them in tax administration, which is extremely very good. So I don't see anything really wrong. What is important is to ensure equitable distribution. And from what I can see, what is being proposed is equitable. But the point I will make is that any contentious issue in the bill, because there are a whole lot of positive things in these 4 bills. So to avoid a situation where we'll be throwing away the baby with the bathwater. If there's any section of the bills that are contentious, please, as we progress, let us drop them. Particularly this VAT derivation thing is becoming unnecessarily contentious. If you need to go back to status quo, so be it.
So do you agree with him? Sorry to put in your line of thought.
No matter how you look at it, I don't see how...
Right. Mr. Yusuf, do you agree with him when the Senate member, the Senator, Ali Ndume, said that, for instance, the PIA Act, which we now have, spent like 10 years, in the National Assembly before it was passed. So we should allow them to filibuster for as long as they can on these tax reform bills before they reach a conclusion, maybe like 10 years or even more. What do you say to that?
No. That's not what I'm saying. No, that is not correct. What I'm saying is that we have 4 bills and they have several provisions. What I'm saying is that if there is any section of the bill that is too contentious, even irrespective of the merit, let us drop those ones so that we can move forward with the rest. There's a whole of over 90% of the provisions have positive implications. We cannot get stuck because of this VAT derivation thing, because for me, that is the only major issue that has been amplified so far. We can step that down and move forward with the rest. We have the simplification of the taxes, we have the rationalization of the taxes, we have the reduction of company tax from 30% to 25%. We have the threshold that has been increased for SMEs not to pay VAT and not to pay company income tax. We have the economic tax incentives for some companies and so on. So all of these things are very positive. We have some archaic laws that are in some of our tax laws. Some of them have been there for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Those kind of provisions should be repealed so that we bring our economy back into what you can regard as the modern way of tax administration. So we should not be bogged down. If they complain about this VAT thing is becoming too much, let's go back to status quo. Already, even in the status quo, the only component of derivation in status quo is just only 20%. The rest are population and equality of states. That is fine. If that is what they want, we don't lose much by going back to that. But let's move forward with all the very, very important provisions in the bill. And I must also caution, this is not the time to be raising taxes. Because even in the bill, there's a provision that from 2025, VAT will increase, 2026, it will increase progressively. I will submit that for now, because of the current economic situation, we should maintain the VAT at 7.5, at least till next year. Afterwards, we cannot be talking of a review. That is key. Secondly, there are some complaints by investors in the free trade zones about some provisions in the bill. I think we should give them a listening ear. Because investors in the free trade zone, most of them are manufacturers. And the whole essence of free trade zone investment is to be able to encourage export. So we should look at it, interrogate properly that section of the bill, so that we don't also create problems for investors that we are trying to attract. And many of these investors have invested heavily, some of them in billions of dollars. So if in the middle of the road we are now changing the rule, that may not be good for investment. So we need to look at that critically and see how we can tweak that. That is why I said at the beginning, no bill is perfect. The essence of the public hearing and this big bill in the National Assembly is for all the views to be taken on board. Is to make the whole process inclusive. And at the end of the day, I think all of us will be much better off. So that would be my take.
Dr. Yusuf, all right, let's put you on hold and compare notes with Mr. Ogunlaja here. Listening to your co-analysts now, do you also subscribe to this controversial aspect of the bills, that's the new VAT derivation model? Do you subscribe to it being withdrawn, saying that that appears to be the sole contention?
Well, much as I agree with most of the things he has mentioned, I disagree with his submission on that, because it's like sweeping it under the carpet. If you say because it is contentious now,
for peace to reign,
for peace to reign, what about those from those areas where the resources are being sourced? Do you think they want to lay down their arms? They would claim that these resources are from the areas and they are not benefiting much. And really, if you pay a visit to those areas, you would pity them. How can you be the end that lays the golden eggs and you don't even have a silver lining road, and you are laying the golden eggs? So if they not start complaining that no, it was based on derivation, what will you do again? You will not say, okay, let us suspend that again. We all have to come to the round table and discuss it better. The question is that if you know you want derivation, go and improve on your own resources. There is no region, there is no state in Nigeria that is not blessed. Okay. They are there, the resources are there to be tapped. But our leaders are just lazy. They just want to go to Abuja, collect allocation, come back, distribute, and the following month you won't see them. So if they do that, it will go a long way. Then maybe I want to correct our depression. The law is saying that 7.5% VAT will remain throughout this year. There will be no increment until 2025 when it will go to 10%. Although I agree with him that whether it's 2025 or 2030, the next 10 years, let it remain at 7.5. You must cushion the effects of this on people. People are suffering. The pain is too much. The burden is too much on individuals, on companies. If you're not bringing succor to them, why don't you want to give and add another problem to them? So let it remain 7.5 at the next 5 years, so that people can now stabilize. And when this succor comes, they can suffer the succor and say, government has done it for us. It's not that you do you guys say, another problem on the way. So there, I agree with him.
Right. So, Mr. Yusuf, let me come to you again. This has actually brought up again the question of whether you should enjoy the proceeds of some things you probably have banned or you don't consume. For instance, the alcohol issues that actually raised the question about states where the alcohol is being made, those who consume it should, enjoy the proceeds of the proceeds of the tax, so to speak, the revenue generated from the tax, I should say properly. So, do you think the states that are not consuming or that have banned alcohol have no reasonable ground to say we need to spend out of the revenue that is generated thereof, or therefrom, rather?
You see, there is no point going to unnecessary controversy. Up until now, what has been happening is that those states were also benefiting. And in some of those states, let me also make clarification. It's not as if it's in the entire states that alcohol consumption is banned. I think they have designated areas in those states where you cannot consume alcohol. So we don't need to, begin to fish for controversies. We should allow that to stay, because it's also going to be complex. Which states are consuming, how much are they consuming, and all of that. The good thing about what we have now is that there's a whole benefit for population in terms of the distribution. And many of these states have huge population. Rightly or wrongly, it is to their credit that they have huge population. There is a very robust provision on equality of states. So that can also remain. All states, whatever your size, whatever your population, there's an equality provision.
Dr. Yusuf? All right. Looks like Dr. Yusuf's network has frozen again. I'm afraid we've run out of time, though. We want to use this opportunity now to thank Wewa Ogulaja for your contributions on the program this morning, as well as Dr. Muda Yusuf, who braved the odds now, talking about combating the network. Thank you, Dr. Yusuf. If you can still hear the studio, we appreciate your time with us and look forward to more engagements from you both.